You have a statement, it's a philosophy that says, I'm not in music business, I'm in culture business. Can you unpack that philosophy?
I think one day, we're just like discussing the state of music right now and like all the various arms of the ecosystem, where it's like live, press, master, publishing, you name it, like every facet of the business, and like how it's changed since when we fell in love with it and like when we started like getting into it and working in it to now, and like how some of it doesn't make any sense to us at all. Like streaming and distribution, and like, yeah, it makes sense. These things are functional. We understand how they work in the abstract, but the lived experience of these things is like, this can't be it.
Hey, UG boy, let's talk to them. Let's talk, chicka, let's talk to them. Let's talk to them. Let's talk to them. Let's talk, chicka, let's talk to them. Yeah, I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise, with stories untold. The tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night, just like a beacon of light. A reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa with timeless stories untold. What's up, dog?
Elevate your podcast game today. Are you looking for a perfect place to record your podcast in Kampala? Look no further. Chxf Studios, located at Ivory Plaza on Wilson Street, Level 3, Room 4, is a perfect place for you. Chxf Studios has professional recording equipment, comfortable and creative environment, expert for all your podcast needs. Book your session today. Find them on all social media platforms or reach out to them directly to secure your spot. Let them make your podcast dream a reality. Chxf Studios, where stories come to life.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to office.
Today on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, we're joined by Mwami, a dynamic creative and a storyteller with a vision that bridges the culture and fresh perspectives. His work sparks meaningful conversation, inspires audiences, and challenges the way we see the world. This is going to be one of those episodes where you walk away thinking differently. And this is Mwami on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Welcome to the podcast, my brother.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. I'm excited.
Or is my guests have a hard time, if they've never been downtown, they have a hard time to find the studio. How were you able to find the studio?
It was just like a little bit of pacing back and forth just outside the plaza, trying to find the right entrance. And then it was like coming up a couple of steps, trying to find out which floor. It wasn't too complicated, but I felt a little bit like a tourist for a second, just trying to get the right, entrance. But it's a nice place. There was people happy to direct me. People know where the space is. So,
are you very familiar with downtown or no?
Very familiar? No, that would be inaccurate to say. But yeah, I've been around. I know my way around. I can get to and fro. It's not like a foreign land to me. It's just not part of my daily movements, I would say.
Again, like I said, I'm glad I connected to you. Your name has been dropped on this podcast a few times by Ninja C, by who else? I had Lagum, the rapper, who we're going to talk about here.
Oh, nice.
in your journey. I had Lagum on the podcast, but I'd never met you. I'd never sat down with you. But looking at you and preparing for this podcast, I realized that this is a person I would want to sit down and have a conversation with. Like the way you do your work, the way you present yourself is just amazing. And I'm glad to sit down and have a conversation with you. And for the listeners, I'm happy that you get this opportunity to hear from Mwami and what he's going to share with us today. His journey is amazing. His sound is different. I got to say, before even we go deep in everything, I've never heard your sound. Your sound is unique. Like it's just your sound.
Thank
and
you.
Listening to your the album Olympian, we're going to talk about it too. I don't hear people with that sound, like never. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
I don't want to start even breaking it down, but on the podcast, I have a first segment that we usually do. It's called This or That. This or That is where I ask you a question. I ask you two things, but you have to pick one. You can't pick both. You pick one. Feel free to explain why you're picking that instead of the other one. Or feel free to say, that's my answer. I really don't have any explanation why. I'll take that.
Cool.
Coffee at sunrise or tea at sunset?
Is both was that like a part of the options? Because
Both is not part of the option.
no.
No.
Okay. All right. I'll say tea at
Sunset?
What was it? Sunset? Yeah, just because I think that's maybe naturally who I am inclined, or that would be my natural inclination as a person. But lately, like more so the last couple of months, I've been doing coffee in the morning is just like a way to maybe add a different start to the day. So
Yeah.
one is more my natural state. That's just what I would do. I would like choose to do tea at sunset. It's just like,
Okay.
But lately, yeah, I see the appeal of coffee.
Afrobeats or hip hop?
Okay, these aren't as easy as I thought they would be. I feel like they would be kind of cut and dry. But again, like it's somewhat of a circumstantial answer. Like true to nature, hip hop. I think that was of the two, the one that like I came to know first, came to love, have like a deep relationship with. So hip hop has just kind of always had a presence or a place in my life. It's not something that I feel like Afrobeats came a little bit later, personally, for me. Like in the way that I came to understand it or came to then want to know more about it. It was not an early aspect of my taste.
I think it's the same thing to me. Like, I feel like Afrobeat, I just got to learn Afrobeat in like the 2000s. Like, not even recently. Like, maybe it was there, but it wasn't blown out as it is right now. Like,
Exactly.
it's something that just blew out or just came up.
Yeah.
Creating content or performing live?
Okay. Define content, because like if it's just social media content, like it's just, like slop for the timeline or just like media to put into the algorithm, then no, like I then much prefer to perform live. But if like content is creating things that then exist online, whether that's like visual things, audio things, that can be more like encapsulated for me. I can like do that and like lose myself in it more. Whereas live performances, there's still some of that where I'm kind of accounting for people in the audience and what I'm doing. I'm not entirely able to just like do it without any conscious thought or effort.
I'll ask that question again, but with something different. Studio or performing live?
Interestingly enough, given what my previous answer would be, I would say performing live, just because studio can feel like a very safe space, which is, again, not a bad thing. Like, that's great. I love it for that reason. But there's like a way that maybe sometimes performing live can feel a little bit dangerous. Like, not all the elements can be accounted for. You can't go back and like do something and do all the takes and like be as, precise as you want. Like, there's a degree of being present and just having to like navigate the elements and like feed off energy. And that is the payoff for that is more fulfilling than studio, just because a great day in the studio is, like a couple of things were made and like maybe some new ideas were explored. But an average day or not so great day is nothing happened. You didn't make anything. Whereas like an average or not so average or even like just okay performance, there's still a degree of like danger, so to speak. Danger is like an exaggerated way to put it, but I think you know what I mean. Like, you can't account for everything. Yeah,
that makes sense. No, that makes sense. Vinyl records or streaming playlist?
Oh, vinyl.
Yeah,
that's easy. Not that I even like own a lot. It's just like it sounds better. It looks and feels like something else.
Yeah, it feels special.
Streaming, streaming, it by virtue of being yet just another thing in your phone feels like social media, feels like, scrolling, feels like gambling, feels like whatever, just feels like content. Whereas the experience of a vinyl is like real and raw music
Facts.
in like a tangible form.
I got a few vinyls, and I got like specific artists that I really want on
Nice.
like record. You know, like Bob
Nice.
Marley. Like I have a
Yeah.
like I think of Bob Marley. I have Miles Davis. Like music
Nice.
that feels special. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think this is why I connected a lot to your music. We're gonna dig deep into it because your music is different. Like somebody will listen to it and they'll be like, "This guy, is he?" That's the first thing people say. He's even Ugandan. Like when you blow up and they listen to your song,
Yeah,
he's
that
even
comes up.
Ugandan.
That has happened. Yeah.
This guy, you've heard of him? He's even Ugandan. That's crazy. The final one though, traditional Ugandan sounds or global fusion beats.
I mean, again, from like a personal consumption point of view, like what I would just naturally be inclined to listen to in my own time, I would say the global fusion of beats or sounds. Just because for me, I guess in that regard, there's wider possibilities. There's like a much more varied degree of like rhythms, melodies, tempo, sound, textures, which for me, I think that's just what I would much more easily gravitate towards. So I feel like sometimes, and not to a fault, sometimes even to a strength, like, traditional Ugandan sonics fit into a very understood and sometimes narrow set of possibilities. It's like it's only these kind of tempos, it's only these kind of drum patterns, it's only these typical kind of like keys or scales. The mechanics of it sometimes really fit into a very formed and what could be sometimes repetitive box. So that would be the only reason I would say that. But yeah, I don't have no slight. It's not like an issue I have with it. It's just preference.
That's how this or that. Sometimes I plan these things according to each specific person I'm gonna have, and it's funny to see their reaction. Yeah, like I don't ask the same questions. Like I plan different questions for each guest, and it's crazy how if they look simple when I plan them, but then when I ask them, it's like, ooh, like you see the reaction of the guest saying, like, man, that's hard. That's hard. Oh.
Really quick, actually, I just want to go back. Became curious as you were talking, and then you didn't expound, but I'm like intrigued as to what other vinyl that you own, like, even like what Miles Davis like record you have, and like what other like what was your last recent buy, like just in general.
So I have quite a lot. I don't even think I remember all of them, but I have Miles Davis, I have Bob Marley, I have the Beach Boys.
Yes.
Nice. I have Trevor Scott. Now, Trevor Scott, I know he's like a new artist, and people will be like, "Well, do you have Trevor Scott?" But I love Trevor Scott as a rapper. Like, I don't know why, but like his album. What album do I have? Like, I've forgotten, but like I have that on vinyl. Like when I listen to an album of music,
what's the artwork? What's like the?
It was like a tunnel kind of thing, and then
like a circus. Astroworld, is that the one?
Astroworld, yeah, that one. That's the one. That's the one.
Okay, nice.
That's the one I have on vinyl. I really, I don't know. I really like that one. It stayed with me, and I do that when I love an artist. Like I listen to a lot of music. I'm big into music and all that stuff. But like, there's some artists that stay with me, and I'm like, I need this on a record. And I do have those on a vinyl. There's still more that I have. Who else do I have? The Beach Boys. I have the Beatles.
Pet Sounds, or like another, like, do you have like multiple records, or is it just like particular albums?
It's just one album. Like it's just a particular album, like just one.
Gotcha.
And they put like most of their songs. Like even with Bob Marley, like I think they put some of his main.
Oh, so it's like the compilation, or like his. Just okay, cool.
But Trevor Scott is just the album. It's a whole
album.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
I'm planning to buy some more. I want to have like a lot of them.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be cool. We're gonna go back to something also that I asked you. I think we're already recording, and I asked you at what point did you know that the host is not in the same room as a guest?
I found out like when I walked in, like when I got here, that this wasn't like one setup. I was asking like your DOP, like where is he going to sit, or where is he going to be positioned. Like, I'm not seeing the setup I'm seeing on your, like when I'm watching the pod, like your backdrop. So it was like just a bit disorienting, where I'm like, okay. Then I got the impression, I guess you're gonna call in. There was no other logical,
That's crazy.
But yeah, definitely. I found out today. I found out like right now.
I like that in many ways because it makes me think like, okay, I'm doing something good. I know what it creates to the guest when the guest gets there before they know. It kind of messes with their heads. Like, man, where's this guy? When is he gonna be here? But then when they find out how it is, actually, they give me more props to, man, you pull this off the way it is, because not very many people know that it happens like that. And I think that's what sets my podcast to be unique, that you see it and the work that's put in it, it shows off, like when somebody says it and when somebody realizes how it's done. And that's why sometimes I shoot the behind the scenes for the people to see. And some people wonder, why is a TV in front of his face? But that's where my guest sits.
Even in you showing the BTS, it still didn't, the whole thing didn't, So like, honestly, like hats off, like you create what is a cohesive idea. It's not disjointed. You know, you feel very much like it's one conversation. And like, it's seamless. I wouldn't have otherwise at any one point thought that like it's anything but a singular.
I appreciate that. And then the other thing we talked about was why I do this podcast, and I asked people this question behind it: that why do you think you're a good fit to this? It's not actually. I rethink that question. I don't want to come off like I'm trying to measure you on how you fit in my podcast, but I want to know how my podcast aligns with what you're trying to do. I don't want to come off like, oh, this dude thinks like what makes me worth to be on the podcast or something. No, it could be, but like it's not in a mean way to learn. But I like your response on how you said that you feel like the podcast celebrates. I'm gonna paraphrase because I don't remember the exact words, but like celebrating culture and like the conversation that we've had here. And a lot of people have said that they like the conversation we've had here. And that's why I'm doing this, because the media, not even just Uganda, the media everywhere, people are trying to just get clickbaits from artists to find something to write about. They're not focusing on what the artist is actually trying to build and trying to push. And that's why I've got a lot of appreciation from the artists that I've had on the podcast, because I take time to respect their work and appreciate their work and let the world know about their work. So I want to thank you for observing that.
No, I would even like go further to say it's, and some of what my answer was that like Ugandan culture is very young. New modern Ugandan culture is very young as far as digital presence and like digital contributions, platforms, voices of communities, what have you. There's only but so many, and there's only but so many stories that have been told. But your podcast is a great job of like widening the kinds of voices, you know, whether it's even sometimes in just like music alone, the from APAS to Lagum to Ninja C to Baba. I could go on, but some of those people might never be on the same, you know, in the same context or exist on the same platform in a way where all their stories are highlighted, respected, and like valued and like, you know, given room, whether that's venues, whether that's conversations, podcasts, you name it. There's not a lot of platforms that encapsulate that. And then you think beyond music, and it's the ladies from Kampala Cream, people in, you know, entertainment, media, whatever the case may be. I think there's like a very deliberate effort to reflect the modern Ugandan experience through as many POVs as possible. And there's alternative spaces, whether that's in music, film, or fashion, who their voices, maybe their works haven't had that kind of level playing field, let's say. It's just siloed off where people learn about Tai Dai, Dennis-y, Sound Like Baby, and they're like, oh, like where have you been? And like, what have you been doing? And you're like, there's a cohort of people who are like carving out new ideas and like new forms of what it means to make Ugandan music or Ugandan art that don't have that kind of visibility. So in a context like your platform, where you then take those kind of voices or those kind of stories and present them amongst the stories of all these other people who in their own right represent what is a possibility that wasn't there before, whether it's a comedian, a musician, you name it, like they represent something that couldn't have existed 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And now in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, all the products or byproducts of their work and their lineage have reference points, physical, or let's call them digital media, that they can refer back to, episodes, clips that then, give track to where things go. I think for that reason, it's what you do is it's vital to like the growth of this like very young media culture.
I really appreciate that. And one thing that makes me keep going is people will ask me all the time, you don't have the most numbers on YouTube or the most numbers anywhere. One thing is, I didn't start this for numbers. I started this as something that I personally think it's good for our community, for our culture.
Yeah.
It's something that people are not used to, this style of conversation. They don't like real conversation.
That's true.
People are used to that gossip. They love that. So that's why the reason somebody will put up a video on their channel, it gets 200,000 views. You put up a conversation with Mwami and you get 500 views, because people are not, their minds are not registered to this kind of conversation. But whether people view it or not, and those 500 people who view it will learn something, and that's an impact for me. And I keep reminding people, like, it's not about, yes, numbers are good. We all want numbers. We all want to see the growth. But since that's not something that brought me to do this is why I still do it. And I'm happy that it's actually picking up. People are starting to learn about these things. Even with short clips that I put out there, people listen to them and they, where can I get this full video? And they come follow the full conversation. And that's the reason. And I'm not giving up. I'm still doing this. And I know we'll get there. People will learn about this conversation. They will learn to listen to these conversations. They will learn to sit down and listen to somebody's creative process. How do they do this song? How do they do the music? It's not about, hey, Chxf Cham says, this song is not a hit. No, sit down and listen to how this is somebody created. Anyway, we've had a long conversation actually, even before we dive into your personal journey, but it all builds to that. And the next segment that we're working after this or that is your journey in music, the things you've done, what you've achieved. Right. Your name is Mwami, and that's your original name, your birth name.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was your stage name.
It's a name I use as a stage name. It was a name given to me by my grandmother as like an actual name. She had like beliefs as to how I was to be, I guess respected or referred to, and like this was her way of preserving some kind of like, let's call it esteem. I don't know, but it was like a funny thing amongst like my aunts and uncles and like my parents. But like this was like an insistence on her part that like my grandmother give me this as a name.
What does it mean, and how does this reflect you as an artist?
I mean, there's two dimensions that like I understand it from. At least like there's maybe the formal context, it's like the translation to sir or, gentleman of some sort. But then there's this degree that it's maybe a little bit more intimate than that. Like, this is a beloved person, somebody who is, it's not just maybe respected, but endeared or akin to. So for her, that was a way in which then it becomes like a kind of nickname, like that's now like, I am her Mwami, I'm like her, this is now a form of endearment, if you would call it that. But it's to tie it full circle to your question, sorry. She unfortunately passed like a few years ago,
Sorry
and
about
in some roundabout way to maybe just always keep that particular aspect foundational to what I do, always with me in that way.
that. How did your early life in Uganda shape your sound and your visual style?
I guess like one, there's maybe just always music in the house. And like it was always different kinds of music. And then like I'm the second of 4 siblings. So my older brother also, his influences a lot of where like the hip hop and early 2000s rap and like some of like the late 2000s grime and like these sonic elements came from that reference point. You know, it's just older sibling, like he's discovering a lot of this music and he's just like sharing it and passing it down. And then naturally older sonics and like older sounds and styles were things that were impressions from being young, that like you hear, you know, mom and dad playing in the car or playing on the weekends, like that kind of thing. And then as I got into school, you know, this is now like the first, because I guess it's boarding school, so like this is the first time there's access to internet, controlled internet, yes, but internet away from home. So like me and my friends are now coming to learn of music from like these early FIFA soundtracks would have these like indie rock or alternative rock music in like the curation, and like some of those songs really spoke to us for whatever reason. Like, you know, you play this and then you're like, okay, who's that artist? And you go get their album, and then you get the artist like them, and then now you are exposed to a whole pocket of music that you would have not had another, like, you know, you didn't grow up on it. It wasn't made around you when you were growing up or coming to learn of it. It's music from a completely different world. And we're having these experiences where we're sharing this stuff, and then it becomes jazz, then it becomes EDM and techno and electronic music. Like there was maybe of a friend group of like maybe 6 of us. Everyone had like maybe what was like a primary genre that they were like the quote unquote expert or reference person to go to. And then now you're just trading stuff. And then now everybody has a little bit of everything just by virtue of that kind of, you know, behavior or community like attitude where it's not exactly physical music, like we're not sharing CDs or things of that sort, but it's not like sending links. So it's like you had to download the album, add like the artwork onto the file, put the thing onto a flash, onto your iPod, into your whatever device, like music player. Then now your friend or so, whatever, is like, listen to the music you play. They like it. They need to come with a flash. You know, you give them the thing that there's a degree of ritual to it that I guess much like what we were saying earlier on vinyl, like it makes it more raw, like exactly, it's like yours, you know, and like, oh, I've given this to you, or like I've put you on. Being put onto something used to have that kind of unspoken significance where like there was a little bit of like legwork that had to happen in you being put onto something, you know. So yeah, that behavior, then like obviously now, you know, you're transferring files, so you're going to talk about the music, you're going to have discussions about things, you're like, oh, this is my favorite song, I like this, I didn't like this, you know. Now you now develop the muscle to critically engage with the work. And then at some point, like, I guess, you know, you're young, so you have that youthful, I guess, arrogance, or let's call it naivety, like, yeah, oh, I could do this, you know, like we talk about this so much, like I feel like I understand enough of the mechanics to maybe just make something. And then obviously it's misguided, but you start to now reverse engineer, how do these things work? What softwares do you use? What equipment do you need? What are the basics? You then come to some kind of working bare minimum, right? Where like maybe a friend in a year or 2 above had like, for whatever reason, just like a USB microphone. And then like, oh, he lets you borrow it. Or then you go maybe meet him and then he teaches you something. Okay, cool. There's now a way to make it. Now we need beats. Now you go on YouTube. And now your friend who gave you the microphone tells you about the software. Now you get it. Now I could go on. And if you have questions about it, I can, but I guess to cut a long story short, it was just this never-ending sequence of curiosity that just led to another thing that eventually exposed us to enough information to start to do things with it, and then those things start to feed the loop of curiosity where you're like, okay, that didn't come out the way I know music to exist. What's the gap between what I'm doing and like what I enjoy? And you try to understand that space. You try to like make it narrower and narrower and narrower. But again, just through curiosity of like, oh, you need these kind of plugins and like these kind of software tools to like get this kind of thing. And then, the next thing you know, it's like 8, 9, like ish 10 years have passed. And like this thing has just always been a part of your life that whole time. And like, you've met all these people along the way. And
I take back to where you were explaining the music on the flash. Like that is special. Like even the CD, like when you have music on this, we're talking about the vinyl and you referenced it when you're answering that, like the music was special. Like right now, we do not appreciate music because it's on our phones. Like it's on but when you had that flash, when you have that CD, man, this CD, you don't want anything to scratch it. You don't want anything because you like the music. But I think now that we can easily get music to our phones now, we don't really appreciate it as much. And I'm glad you tapped on that and like how that drew you into doing this kind of music. You call yourself part of the East African Vanguard.
Yeah.
How do you define the moment? Like, why East African Vanguard? How do you find the movement, or where do you see yourself in it?
So I guess maybe that's like my definition of my role in that wider space. And maybe to elaborate is that when I eventually like was releasing Reckless and like building out the artist profile and like, you have to write a bio, and like I didn't want to, I'm going through other people's bios on Spotify and like it's super lengthy and it's telling their whole story and like all they want to do, and like I wanted something that just encapsulated what it was always going to be, so that I didn't have to like always change this thing every time something changed. Like, or I did one thing, it's like, or maybe I wanted to take it in a different direction, now I have to change how I define it. I just wanted a definition that spoke to what it was always going to be without maybe limiting it too much. Like at the time, I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to make the graphic novel or make this collection of short films. I knew I maybe wanted to do things like that at one point, but I hadn't met the people who I would collaborate on those things with, for example. So it was more so very much preemptive, where I felt that, okay, it's going to be many things. It's not just going to be music. It's going to be music, maybe some element of fashion, 100% some degree of film, some kind of physical media. I don't know. Just the element of always world building or always creating some format, some kind of media that was a thing or a space that people could just get lost in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what's the criteria for that? I don't know what it's always going to be, but I know it has to always be cutting edge or at the very least interesting. It's like as a bare minimum, those just need to be the things. Whatever at one point it is, so long as it's cutting edge or interesting. So that's now where the word Vanguard becomes relevant. And then it's always with the notion that this new culture, that this young thing that we're all in somewhat way pushing forward, it's part of a slightly larger conversation in the region. It's not just Uganda in isolation. I think it's a hindrance to its own development to think about it in that way, because there's like minds and like-minded people doing the exact same thing next door, a little bit north, a little bit south from us, in just this little pocket of the world. This same shift is happening. So it being considered as a mass, as like a unit, gives it more gravity, more weight, more importance, just more momentum, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, the East African Vanguard.
East African Vanguard. I really appreciate that, and I like to know the behind the story of or why people choose the name they pick. You touched on Reckless. I didn't have Reckless, and because it's the one of your earlier releases. Yeah, I saw the artwork of Reckless. Is that you in the picture?
Yeah, that's me.
When I looked at the artwork, and this is one of the questions I told you earlier, if you don't want to answer it, then you have a scar on your right shoulder.
On my back, yeah.
On your back. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's not complicated. I like to tell people I got shot and it's a joke, and but like it's like I had a surgery, I had like a cyst, and they just had to remove it, and it didn't heal all the way. So like that's now like the scar. When
I see artists, and like this is something I really appreciate you actually to send me the visual. We're gonna talk about it here soon. But like when I have an artist like Mwami coming on my podcast, the whole day before the recording, actually it starts the day before. I'm locked into your music. I'm not listening to any other kind of music besides the artist's music because I want to be on the same frequency. It helps me to be in the same frequency with that guest. Wow. Like that's how I dive in. So when you send me that visuals, like I sent you a screenshot. I was like, I was already locked in. Like I put the whole thing. Like, but even when I look at artworks and people, when people have EPs, albums, I look at the artwork, what was behind that. And when I was looking at Reckless, I saw that, and that stood out to me. I was like, maybe I'll ask him what was that about? Because at first I wanted to make sure it was you, because it could have been somebody else's picture, but that's why I brought in that question. Outside of music, what's something that you what's something about you that most of your fans wouldn't expect?
I don't necessarily know, because I don't know what my quote unquote fans have come to expect.
Right.
You know, like I don't know where like their expectations stop and like and where mine begin. Like I don't I feel like it's not something I give a lot of consideration for.
Or what they even know about you.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to think about the question in that way, I suppose maybe it's not because like I'm the most vocal or outwardly facing person. People might not necessarily know, like it's like a very great, and okay, great is a circumstantial word, but close relationship with my family. Like my family is like, their presence in my life it's paramount, in spite of how they feel about what I do and what it does for me. It's not like it's just like a foundational aspect, and then there's friends and people along the way who have become that. And so certain bonds and like certain dynamics to me are like a part of who I am. You know, they are, to know Mwami is to know a few other individuals who I would rather not start listing off now, but like it's like a cohort of people who come with the package, so to speak.
Family means a lot, even to me. I don't really talk about them a lot, but like,
I notice.
Yeah. How did you notice?
I think, again, like maybe you could stop me, but I might have picked up on the fact that you're a father.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, this is like you communicated in like very specific and intimate ways that like mark importance, you know, and like I can't imagine, like, because I imagine also you've become more visible as your profile and this platform has grown, keeping and protecting certain things. I'm sure maybe it's a conversation and like the thing you have with yourself about how much is too much, and like where the fact that you do it at all tells me that like, okay, it's important to you. Like you need it to be known amongst the other things that are important to you, which is like culture, these stories, these things. So
no, that makes sense. Anyway, we go into your debut album that released November 2024. You released Olympian. It's a 12-track album, and you have a lot of collaborations on this. Nyokobi Karaoke, Kalibwani, Rhythm, Tai Dai, Lagum, and Kohen Jaycee. I might not know the other two very well, but like I'm familiar with Tai Dai, Lagum, and Kohen. Before we ask you questions about this album, like I really respect you guys, you, Tai, and I mean other artists. I'm just going to mention this. It's not like just the three of you. I've not had a conversation with Tai Dai, but she's somebody I see her work. I see her. I've never talked to her. I see her work on Instagram, and she is talented. Like, she's special. And we see this art. Lagum was the other guy that I'd never had a conversation with till he came to my podcast. Super talented with his music. Kohen, I've never had a conversation with him. I see his work. He's one of the other guys that did amazing. And on one of the songs where one of your songs that he sang, the Luganda part, was really, really amazing.
Thank you. Shout out Kohen.
How intentional was it for you to start Olympian with such a strong nod to the Ugandan? Because the way, even the title of the song, like the Ugandan heritage, like before diving into the modern sound, the first track was that intentional? How did you take us to that?
Yeah, it was. I'm glad you picked up on that. When I sent, I have a friend of mine who I know from uni, and like a long time. His name is Lucas, and when I sent him like the early sequencing of the album, one of his initial notes was, it wasn't actually the early, it was maybe like close to what was the final. It was some of the songs in the middle, but the beginning and the end, I kind of knew for the longest what those were going to be, and the middle. Beginning, the halfway point, and the end were kind of distinctly understood in my mind. The things in between that were the now shifting pieces. When I sent it to him at first, he said that it's like a statement. Those are his words. It's a statement beginning with a 1. The song is like nearly 6 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
2.
long.
It's like a little bit raw. It's Ilji's cutting through. It's not like not everything is like super 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 polished. It's like it just feels authentic to the style. You know, I wanted something that like I could hear on like a truck. You know, these trucks that like just drive around like town, just blasting music out of a speaker, advertising something or whatever. It's different things, but you know what I'm talking about. That was the kind of like feel to the song, to the texture that I wanted.
Yeah.
All the songs have like a layered history to them where there were different versions, or it's multiple producers who contributed a variety of things, whether that's, you know, drums or melody or production or mixing or like certain textures or whatever the case may be. But the album, the overall sonic statement is dance music of every kind of format or BPM that is most authentic to myself. And that had to be the first one. That had to be like we had to start there. This is like the dance floor that maybe sets the tone for now, hearing everything else.
The other song that really I liked was Boy Scout. Boy Scout was good.
Interesting.
And like when you sent me the visuals today this morning, it connected. And I want to applaud you for the way you visualized that. That was dope. Like, this is something I would sit down, like you would watch on some, I don't know how to explain it to the people, but it makes sense in my head. And I have that problem sometimes.
Right.
Like, you see a visual, like this is not something you see anywhere. It's unique. Like, it's not your every time visual. Like the way you put fashion in there, the way the people were walking, doing certain things as the song is going on.
Yeah.
It was really amazing. Whose concept was it to produce it like that?
It was mine. And I mean, there was a couple of the visual collaborators are all people who, I mean, like I can't like shout out these people enough, you know. They either understood the vision, or if they didn't understand the vision, like they trusted me to you know, see it through, or they brought something to it that maybe I didn't account for or couldn't have planned. I mean, on each visual, it's like a combination of visual collaborators where I'm co-directing with somebody else, and maybe there's like a second unit that did like some B-roll and like some additional coverage. So with Boy Scout, for example, I had the concept for the video with the concept for the song. Like it was just like one holistic idea. Like if you listen to the end of Kinanda Tizita, there's like this outro that comes from, again, so I didn't really want to like talk too much about how and where the samples come from, but the gist of it is like there's a the sample speaks to a certain movie who the director of is somebody I'm like a big fan of. And they made this movie called Moonrise Kingdom, and like the style, the shots, the color, is referenced a lot in Now Boy Scout, the visual. So I kind of just wanted to like make a song that was an homage to that movie. The character in that movie is also like a Boy Scout, and like they could kind of go on this whole adventure. So yeah, it was just like building off that one holistic idea. Initially, when I had the idea for the song, it was like a house instrumental, but it was a lot simpler, a lot more minimal, a lot more, the co-producer YS might say maybe a lot more basic, but it felt maybe sleek. It didn't feel as abrasive and like expansive. Like the final Boy Scout version is like super punchy, super in your face. Like the dynamics are, it's things are coming, things are going. Like, we're moving through what's like something that's alive in a way. That alone took me some time to accept and like, come to terms with all the songs. There was that, it's like a journey from which some of them I had to like let go of the initial ideas of like what I thought was going to happen. Some of them, the idea became the final thing, it was executed as intended. Some of them, what ended up being executed was
different from
much better. Like, yeah. Far more advanced, far more like evolved than maybe what I had initially wanted. Some of them I felt like I didn't get the thing I wanted. I like this, I can accept this, but there was something that I was trying to do 1 or 2 versions ago that maybe I didn't fully feel it materialized in the way I would have liked. That maybe I have to come about in a different way, in a different project to get that itch. Like, okay, I'm trying to make this kind of song and now I've finally done it. But yeah, it's just like this, raising 12 children who you had different hopes and dreams for, and like some of them did things, some of them did their own thing.
I like that you reference it to the 12 children. But one more song I'm gonna talk about, and actually now it makes sense why you were confused about me asking you about the sample, because it makes sense.
Right.
There are some samples of like people just having a conversation. There were some samples who were in Swahili. Yes. There were some samples. This one was like a song, an older song. I'll let you know what I meant when I find it. I'll go back and listen to it. But I want to pick out the song Daisy. Daisy blends English, Luganda, and was beautifully made. Was that a creative choice or was that a natural instinct?
100%. So like I now wanted something down tempo, something that's like still dancey, but like it's for slow dancing. It's for like maybe it's a little bit more romantic. But I was like, there's no reason why like Luganda can't exist in this context, like one of the most romantic writers and performers that I know is Kohen. Like his pen and like his choice of melodies, his delivery, and like how there's a way in which in his own music, it can feel like it's somewhat conversational, in which he paces out the performance of like the notes and how he's singing. But then it's still musically strong. It's not rap. It's not like he's like sing rapping. He's fully committing to the singing. It's good. It's, I don't know, it's like it feels fleshed out, like it's romantic and like his heart's on his sleeve, but like nothing about it feels sad or tragic. I don't know. I think he's like a very romantic writer and like a very romantic artist. And he knew it like almost immediately after I played it for him. He just like was humming it to him. He had the melody and it was just the 1-2 lines. And I was like, that you've captured the whole thing precisely. The title obviously was there before he did the
part.
So it wasn't like it came completely out of thin. Like he had a jumping off point, but he didn't need to do too much to get the point across,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that, maybe you can do that. And it was enough, It's like that somebody who uses less words than maybe what the thing you were trying to say.
Yeah.
He knows how to get as much out of as few words as possible, which I really love.
Yeah, I love Cohen's music. He's shout out to Cohen. He's been amazing. Anyway, yeah, we could sit here and just break down Olympian like word for word.
Yeah,
Like it would take
sorry.
the whole episode. But I also want to
Yeah.
cover some of your previous works, like maybe some of my audience that I've never associated with your music. They can go back and check some of the works you've done. Some of your earlier
Yeah.
projects like Protein, Ear Open, which again you had Agent Mugumbe and Tai Dai was on there too. And then Expressions, Echibanda, Frequency Showcase. I want to ask you about Tai Dai. I know I mentioned her a little bit,
Yeah.
and you had her on Ear Open. How has it been working with her, and what's your relationship with Tai Dai? Is like you're working.
It's too cool. It's too cool. Tai Dai is one of the coolest people I know. Just like effortlessly, unassumingly. She's like is her writing style, like her process. If she's not feeling something, like she'll sort of know fairly early on in the process. Like doesn't have a hard time saying it. If there's like something there, like she'll give it her best shot before saying, not okay, good, how she, you know what I'm saying? Like she's somewhat self-aware as to what she likes, what she doesn't about her voice and her sensibilities. And then she's able to trust collaborators to put her into context that maybe she wouldn't have otherwise thought to do by herself, or just, you know, like it wouldn't have come, that would have not been the first thing that she would have thought to do. I don't know if she would have thought to make a song like Boy Scout. Initially, Boy Scout was just like a demo that it was like her brother, Anguchi, cool guy producer, and Chxf Barry, who started like it was like a bass line chord and just like the 4/4 drum. And like she just did like the hook reference like really, really pretty quickly. It was like not a lot of, it wasn't overthought. And a lot of people on the album, their contributions were like that, where it was just taking the raw initial idea and then building on from there. But with Tai Dai, she would be able to recognize that like, oh, this is in the context of the album. This is what you're trying to go for. This is like your kind of thing. But when we're making EA Open, like sometime later, might have been like a year-ish plus from when we made Boy Scout. It was now a much more collaborative group effort. Like we're in, it's not any one person's point of view. It's just like, it's the three of our, you know, collective efforts that's going to yield the final result.
Yeah.
So then now it like adds like a different kind of energy, where I think the first song we made for EA Open was Flavor. She did the hook pretty fast. It was like a secondary room in a camp, in like a writing, like it was like a group session. It was like a big day of, it was maybe 3 studio setups. And this was just like a side little room with like Asia Mugumbe. Luca was just running. You know, those kind of situations are porous. You're just going from room to room, seeing what you like, writing something, it doesn't work, going somewhere else. But we sort of find ourselves in this little corner, the three of us. I can't remember if the beat, he made it from scratch, fully from scratch in that moment, or there was like some elements from something else. But EA Open in general just came together a lot more organically and a lot faster than like Olympian, for example. Every thought, every decision is granular, it's overanalyzed, it's like thought through a couple of times, tried through a few different ways. Whereas EA Open, like, oh, first 2 takes, 3 takes, or first approach, or maybe the first idea works. Cool. I come in to do something, the next song, back to Bugos. Maybe Tai Dai does like the hook, and she's not really feeling like doing a verse. I'm like, it's fine. Cool, I'll do the verse. Then, you know, TD2, it's like, this is just Tai Dai's moment. This is just like a Tai Dai record. At some point, there was a consideration where if maybe it would have been on her personal project, but like it worked in this setting. It was just natural and easy to like make those kind of calls. There wasn't really like a lot of contemplation over that working environment, which I like about Luco. I love it about Luco. I love it about Tai Dai. Like they don't have a hard time knowing when to be in what kind of artistic headspace. You know, it's like, oh, this is us, this is you, this is me, or this is her. This is, there's like an unspoken chemistry in that way where like you can kind of just like read as to what we're making, who does it most speak to, how can I add value but not detract from what the other person is doing. Those kinds of people, like, that kind of working relationship is it's like why maybe certain features will pop up like in different ways. Ilge is like another person like that. YS, who I work with in the context of my album, and then in the context of his album, and then in the context of different things. But yeah,
that makes a lot of sense, and I like how you broke it down and give us a full story on working with Tai Dai. Again, like I said, there are people that I can just see how they work, how they do their thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, that would be dope to sit down. Like, even you, like, just looking at your work and the way you present your work to the people, it's just like, this is somebody I want to sit down and pick their brains on their creative process. Speaking of which, you have a statement, it's a philosophy that says, I'm not in music business, I'm in culture business. Can you unpack that philosophy?
It's okay. I have to be honest. It wasn't originally my philosophy. It's a philosophy I co-opted and like subscribed to that Kalibwani, my friend Kalanzi, young Lanzi baby, who coined. It was initially his phrase where I think one day, we're just like discussing the state of music right now and like all the various arms of the ecosystem, where it's like live, press, master, publishing, you name it, like every facet of the business, and like how it's changed since when we fell in love with it and like when we started like getting into it and working in it to now, and like how some of it doesn't make any sense to us at all, like streaming and distribution, and like, yeah, it makes sense. These things are functional, we understand how they work in the abstract. But the lived experience of these things is like, this can't be it, Like you or we at that point then identify that the real intrigue isn't just in the business of music. It doesn't stop there. It's like wider than that. It's what music serves to do in a larger thing, which is culture. So then that now becomes the point of interest for us, where like you learn that then this is also a much more amorphous business environment, but it is a business environment nonetheless. And like it is one that oftentimes yields cutting edge products, processes, points of view that then go on to affect other businesses, music, technology, the law, and like how the law interacts with technology and culture and etc. Like that, the law, culture, and technology, this like little triangle between the three. Mm-hmm. Culture is like the wider layer of the onion, and like music is just like one ring removed from that, and like the limitations of which aren't as interesting.
Which makes a lot of sense, because I've had people say this word or this name that I'm going to ask you is the underground artist. When you hear somebody call somebody an underground artist, what comes up to your head? Like, what do you understand that as called?
What I understand from that, I think, depending on who I'm talking to, it's revealing of your perspective on culture, who you would call an underground artist and why. It says a lot about where you are observing for lack of a better word, the ground, like where is like, this is mainstream and like wider culture, and like this is underground. Like for a lot of people, that line is much, it's much closer to where the most interesting things are happening, which oftentimes is what people call the underground, That really is where ultimately like culture is most dangerous, most cutting edge, and who then those people are sometimes go on to influence and shift this more mainstream, more widely appealing and understood culture.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it's like a something very self-reflecting about it from whoever said it. And then it's then also like a indicator for then what they're referencing as underground, as either something to look at and say, if this to you is underground, that tells me you see this culture in this way. Okay, you are this far removed from this thing. And it helps to then like, you can contextualize the pieces much easier.
Yeah.
In understanding what then is referenced as underground. Would I consider underground? Would I not? You know, there's things that I would consider underground, and for people, they wouldn't. Even for me, even for somebody as in it, quote unquote, as I am, there's things that exist beneath my cracks and like my purview.
We could sit down and just have a conversation. Like,
yeah,
I know, like we could talk and actually I had even more stuff to talk about, but I know the listening span of my audience kind of, they knock off or they go.
it's
also
tapping on.
The time that we have with the DOP in the studio also comes to play, but
Yes.
we're coming close to the end of the recording. But I want to leave without talking about your upcoming events, or like what's happening now for you. What do you have cooking? We have Olympian that released last year. What's coming out and what are you working on right now? Tours and the Olympian tour and all that.
Yeah, like last year, even somewhat before the release of the album, there was like a couple of marquee exhibitions, showcases, performances that took the short film or the Olympian collection to a few different places. We screened it in Nairobi, Toronto, New York. EA Open, then performed at Nyege, and then as Bugos Boys, we then performed at Mellowfest. So like there was a couple of out of town shows that pushed the arts and like the music and the different things that were going on into new spaces. And we'll be trying to just keep that up this year, whether that's more exhibitions. I want to do like another screening that's maybe a little bit more comprehensive, that maybe breaks down or offers opportunity to break down some of the concepts from the film, have some of like the props and like the elements on display, have a director's cut, which I'm working on, like a more extended version of the film, running some performances, DJ sets, just something that maybe gives physical representation or physical expression to all the various pieces in one space that people can kind of come in on like a 2-3 day basis and like interact with in a variety of ways. That's the big one. I've done a couple of directorial videos for different people and brands. This year I did a couple of videos for MAUIMOON with a co-director in Nairobi, which is cool. It was fun. It was like the first time, I guess. Not the first time. I'd done some visuals with MAUIMOON as well. But like this was the first one where production was a bit bigger, the concepts were a little bit wider, there was a little bit more to achieve, which I maybe want to do more of to some degree. It was like some fashion editorial work with Akiba Studios, which is like a Nairobi-based East African streetwear brand. Yeah, this editorial content combined musical performances, fashion film, and his clothing. Performed at Bunyonyi, so Tangaza and Friends and Lake Bunyonyi. These weekenders, which are like these weekend experiences up at Lake Bunyonyi. Mm-hmm. With Tai Dai, and then also the film, we're able to present and like perform out there, and that was pretty cool because that was again like in the ethos and like in the spirit of EA Open,
yeah.
EA being open. It was like people from Kigali, people from Nairobi, people from Kampala, like minds, just in one place, engaging with art in a very, very tuned in way, in like a very, very, very precise level. And we're trying to go again at some point this year, which would be, I think, again, crucial, just because there's not a lot of opportunities for creators to see, people in like next door, and like there's not a lot of like level playing field for you to engage with them and their work in a way that's not territorial. There's no ego. There's no, you know what I mean? Like films being screened. So creators from all the three countries are engaging with like work from all the three countries. So everybody's able to like have something to say, have something to offer, and then offer maybe some kind of critique or insight, and then is shared and then understood amongst all of us. And then brands are doing pop-ups. Now you're then engaging with like, oh, this is like the fashion from that place, and then this is how we can like export it or import it over here. It's like it feels like a marketplace of culture. You know, things are kind of coming together to just really see what happens and like just do interesting stuff. Beyond that, that's what I'm on. That's what I'm working on, I guess.
For the listeners who have tuned in that have not tapped into your music, where can they find your music, follow your work, and give us those platforms?
Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Mwami, MWAMI, Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube. Forgetting anything? No, yeah. Instagram, X, Twitter. Yeah, social medias, Mwami, ONOMWAMII.
Did you perform at Blankets and Wine last year? Also, yeah.
I did not, unfortunately, no.
Okay. You've never performed on Blankets and Wine?
No.
Okay. I don't know.
You saw Mwami on the poster?
No. I might have been confusing with somebody, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Either that or, Afsa? Have you talked to Afsa?
Yes.
So either that...
I was on the phone with Afsa yesterday.
Or either Afsa, because she was on my podcast too. I had a conversation with her. We were talking about that. And she was introducing me to some of the artists that I've mentioned here that I've worked with. Afsa is a good friend of mine. Shout out to Afsa, actually. Big up. They have a new podcast. Afsa, yes. They have a new podcast with Liz. Check it out. They'll be putting some work out there. Anyway, we are long overdue. But I want to end this with rapid fire. Rapid fire, just give me the first answer that comes to your head, and then we will go with that. It has to be, it's going to be quick. One word that best describes you?
Undescribable.
Your dream collaboration?
Charlie Wilson.
A song you have on repeat right now?
Josh Forehead's entire discography.
What's one thing people would be surprised to know about you? I think I already asked you something similar to that.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing music, what would you be doing right now?
Making movies, which I already do.
One artist you would love to share a stage with?
Craig David, which,
you already do.
Ironically, the case. But
First album or song you've ever bought or streamed?
Alright, I'll give you 3 answers. First album bought CD was Tetsuo and Youth by Lupe Fiasco. It was like the first time I was able to buy a physical CD myself. First vinyl was Miles Davis. Yeah.
That's crazy. I have Miles
Davis.
Davis.
The one with blue and green and
I like that.
I don't know what's the name of this album.
I think that's the one I have. No.
Kind of blue.
Okay.
I think that's the one, yeah.
My vinyls are upstairs. I would have loved to bring you one down here, but we'll see at the end of it if DOP is not in a rush. I'll run and I show you one.
I think he is.
He's in the rush.
Please, I would love to. Yeah, send it to me at least.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture. Anyway, let's actually just stop it there. This is the final one.
No, go for it.
One artist you think the world should know about. One Ugandan artist you think the world should know about.
MAUIMOON.
Final 3. These are also quick questions. What's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
Peace is a priority and the process to be trusted.
What gets you excited about life?
New experience.
The final one, signature question. Who would you like to see on this podcast next as a guest? And you help me connect with that person.
Yeah, it's too many. I want to see Tai Dai on here.
That's the first one.
Josh Forehead on here.
Tai Dai.
I see MAUIMOON on here. I feel like Kalibwani would be an interesting one because then like the culture conversation now like would have another dimension. Sound like BB. Yeah.
Let's get Tai Dai and all of them. I wanna sit down and have a conversation with Tai Dai. Anyway, for the listeners, we appreciate for those of you who have sat through this conversation towards the end. I know it's deeper than the usual ones, but that's the best part of it. Like the deeper ones, you get to know how Mwami Mwami's process works, his work, and how these albums came about. You get a glimpse of his work. That's what we love. That's what we love to do, to celebrate the good work that people do. Mwami, once again, I've been honored and to have this conversation with you and to have you on the podcast.
Likewise. Thank you for letting me yap for maybe too long. I appreciate you. It's very important work that you do.
We love that. We love people who talk. Sometimes the podcast can be harder when you're trying to force to pull. It's like fishing. You're trying to pull this fish answer out of this guy, but like when somebody feels close.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast, so that's how we grow. Thank you very much and be blessed.
Hello, I'm Mwami, East African Vanguard. Here on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Be sure to check out our episode where we get into everything: music, culture, art, East African art. Thank you. Please check it out on YouTube and other old platforms. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, that's a wrap.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you really doing this. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for dragging on. Just apologizing to the DOP.